Hey Gloriana, how you doing? Thank you so much for kicking things off here. I've got your work up. We'll go ahead and jump into that. So you picked the bike. Good choice. I love this. Truly a big part of my life. Me too. Always has been. Always will be. A big bike fan. Love it. Love it. Always have. Ever since I was a little kid, I ride quite a bit. So I can certainly relate to your choice here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the work, and we'll go ahead and make some recommendations and some comments. Let me just get this into the screen. Here we go. Okay, just want that to fit in the screen. All right, excellent. Now, this is a really good start. I think it's fantastic. I love some things that you've done here. A couple of things that are really interesting. I think this is a great continuation. Using that simple rule right there to identify the color of the bike to create this kind of visual connection. I think that's a really smart idea. One thing you might think about is this. We take a look at the components of the bike and some of the characteristics of the bike. We see 1, 2 lines. You might consider mimicking that by taking this line and placing another one above it, and maybe even making those 2 lines a little bit thicker. That'll really follow the headline area right down into these 2 bars on the bike being represented by a bar above and below the headline. I think that would be really interesting. There's some, excuse me, there's some other things you've done that are very interesting. And I think one of the things is this circle right here. Well, your image is placed in circles. That's just smart because you've got these prominent circles depicted by the tires in the bicycle itself. Then you've taken that a step further and you're actually bleeding one of these, just like the bike image is bleeding right there. So that's really interesting technique. A couple of things I would recommend here is to really search through the image itself for clues that you can use to create your type columns and to format your type. Let me just give you a quick example. And to do so, I'm just going to grab my straight edge right here. I'm going to bring this over right here. And I'm going to bring this to the width of your headline. All right, now we take the width of the headline and we bring it down here and we can see, you know what, wouldn't it be interesting if we could duplicate the width of the tire, or at least the open part of the tire from here to here in the headline, making the headline as long as that area right there. So that would entail increasing the width of the headline and the subhead just a little bit, but I think that would really be interesting if this were the same width as the distance between the 2 rims in the bicycle tire itself. Okay, let's take a look at specifications. So here we have your selected object must be dominant, make it big crowd part of it. That's good, you've done that. Your poster must include an image of the object in use, somebody using it. Yes, you've got that right here. Okay, this part's interesting. Your poster must include one image that results from the use of your project. If you have a selection, for example, a pair of wire cutters showing an image of some trim, flowers. So I don't know how you can depict a picture of the result of somebody riding their bicycle. It could be maybe somebody parking their bike at school or parking their bike at work, or maybe even having a nice drink after a long exercise. But something you have to connect the bike into the result of using the bike in an image. And that's one thing we don't have here. You must include 2 components from your selected object. Okay, we don't have that here. Right now, you've got this component here. Okay, but it needs 2 components. You're showing an optional accessory here, but that's not a component of the bike. That's an accessory, right? So we need another image of a component. Also, you're going to end up using captions for the images of the components themselves. Now, this area over here, you've got safe, so it has to do with safety, and this has to do with accessories, neither of which are really closely associated with this image. Accessories is something that is really optional. That's not part of what we're showing here. So you can get rid of accessories. And then safe, this is talking about road conditions and general safety. So the assumption here is that this, what you're telling the viewer is that this caption right here has to do with this image. And that's based on nothing but proximity, right? If this is close to this, if there should be a logical connection. But there's really not. So this is a completely different topic. It's not depicting or describing any of the attributes of this image. So again, for this reason, I'm not sure that's the best way to do this. What you want to do with your captions is include them in your components area. I think that would be the best way to go. The other thing is that you've got this this configuration here where you've got word wrap. You're wrapping the text around these images, and I think that it's a little bit overdone, and it creates this really unusual negative space right here. I think word wrap works in some instances, but in this, I'm not sure it does. It's not bad at all, but the problem with this is that you're also wrapping on the right-hand side of the paragraph. You're wrapping around the tire, again, which is interesting. However, when you wrap a ragged margin, meaning this is left aligned with a wrap and rag right with a wrap. So rag right with a wrap doesn't always work because the rags are different. They're different lengths. They're uneven. So you get these really unusual kind of in and out spiky areas in relationship to what is considered to be a smooth edge, right? So a lot of times if you want to word wrap both left and right hand side or just the right hand side, you might consider justifying the type. That'll give you a nice, it'll look like this. See how beautiful that word wrap looks right there? And then compare it to this one right here. So food for thought there. All right, so I really don't want to direct this project. So I've given you some ideas, right? But I don't want to say, okay, do this, and do this, because I want you to take this project and make your own assumptions and make your own decisions based on the subject matter as well as the communicative intent and the layout itself. Okay, so I just want to give you a couple examples, and let's take a look at a couple of successful examples, and maybe you can get some ideas from here. But this is an interesting, this doesn't use word wrap necessarily, but it does kind of taper the text to fit in that little nook right there. I think that's pretty interesting. I think the most interesting thing about this particular example is the fact that the circle, okay, the circle is prominent, right, from the headline, and it's repeated. So that's a really interesting relationship there. And I think this is a fantastic example. You're going to love this one. Let me go through this one. All right, so we have design in everyday life, right? So the coffee machine. A couple of things I want you to note with the coffee machine, okay? If we take a look at the width of design and width of everyday, let's jump over here and we're going to measure that. So that's about roughly that size. And it looks like the everyday is about the same size. But magically, we come down here and it looks like, yes, the image is the same width as the main words in the headline. That's by design. That is not by chance. So that's a very interesting technique right here. Another interesting thing we find is this designer has picked out really interesting clues from the image. Okay, so we've got the circle here, but not only have we used a circle there, we've got the three circles up in the logo, and the three circles are again represented right here. So that's really good continuation, really good substitution. Then to add things and make things even more interesting, we say the coffee machine drips coffee. It's a drip coffee machine, right? So these little dots right here, see these dots right here, these vertical dots, they mimic the way that the coffee would be dripping. So this is just absolutely some really wonderful, wonderful ideas here. Color continuation. We've got all sorts of things going on here there. And the consistency in the color from every day and the circles on the frames on the circles, or the stroke on the circles. So really interesting stuff. Then when you see we've got the three components. We've got two components. Being a bean could theoretically be a component of a coffee machine, and then the drip part of the coffee machine, right? So those are close-ups of components, and then somebody interacting with the machine and resulting from the enjoy would be the result of. Okay, so those are some good examples. So go ahead and rework your design. What I want you to go to one portion. Let me jump in here real quick, and I want to show you one. The presentation this week is just priceless. It's one of the best presentations, I think, in the class for sure, if not really one of the best presentations I've ever seen regarding type in combination with image. Let's jump over here. It's this one right here. Week 4, presentation 3, interaction of words with pictures. And come through, take a look at this video. This video just kind of summarizes everything in this lecture, but you got to look at this. Look at it once, look at it twice, look at it a third time. It's priceless. It's really fantastic. So be sure to take a look at that and go ahead and start applying what you've learned to your type. Now, typographically, I think you're looking pretty good. Good kerning here. There might be a little bit too much space between the E and the S, so you might want to reduce that a little bit. That looks great. Typesetting looks good. You've got a widow, actually. Yeah, you've got a widow right here, right at the end there. That's a typographic widow. You want to work that out. All right, so great job, great start. Thanks for kicking things off. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you need any clarification, please let me know, and I'll be glad to provide anything in that regard. Okay, great job. Thank you very much.